Our next public hearing this evening is the Expression Center for New Media Expansion, located at 1650 65th Street. Maru?
Okay, this is an amendment to an existing conditional use permit, which would allow the existing Expression College to expand to the what's called the Atrium building. As you probably all are aware, the Expression Center for New Media College is an institution which provides graduate programs for sound arts, 3D animation, and visual effects and motion graphics. It was established in Emeryville in 1998. At that time, they occupied what's called the Shelmont building here. Shelmont Street is right here. 65th Street is right here. So in 98, when the first conditional use permit was approved, the Expression occupied about 2/3 of that building, and then they later on expanded to the rest of the remainder of the building in 2002. In 2004, they came in and expanded their operations onto the Atrium building right here, which is about 20,000 square feet. And now they're proposing further expansion into what is Atrium B, and that's about 25,000 square feet. In addition, in terms of use, it's just an extension. No change in operating conditions are proposed or anticipated. In terms of parking, they are providing additional 114 parking spaces. About 89 come from additional spaces here, adjacent to the Atrium building, which it did not have rights to earlier on, and an additional 25 spaces in the Emery Bay Club Apartments parking garage. They already have 77 spaces which they currently use for the college, and they have a lease for an additional 25. So they're going to be adding an addition of 114 parking spaces, moving, so the total number of parking spaces on the site available for the operation would be 323. When the original use permit was approved for this project, the standard parking ratio for education use listed in our zoning ordinance was not used, mainly because it was found that this training center was a little bit different from your standard community colleges in terms of they operate 24 hours, therefore the peak hours are sort of spread throughout the day. And Fair and Pears did a parking study at that time, and came to a parking ratio. They used things like parking occupancy counts, driveway counts, and survey results of teachers and students to figure out how many parking spaces would be required for the project. And then what they did was, when they came in 2004, they used the existing peak parking demand and extrapolated for what the maximum number of students would be permitted given the number of parking spaces. With the addition of parking spaces that they're providing and using the same parking ratio, we come up with the new maximum population that would be permitted with this expansion. And that population is 1163. That's the total campus population. And this is a part of the condition of approval. Staff feels confident in using the parking ratios and extrapolating from them because we have not, we have not received any complaints from anybody, and regarding parking, or for that matter, any other complaints for the college. So we are pretty confident that without additional, traffic studies and using and ensuring that the parking ratios remain the same as they exist currently, provided the additional parking would be adequate for the project. That's about the two main issues. I mean, that's the main issue here. Like I said, there is no change to the exterior of the existing building. There's no change in the operation characteristics of the college. So with that, staff is recommending approval at this point. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I have two questions. One, the 102 coming from Emery Bay Club, are those assigned as part of their use, Are those are just extra parking spaces over at the Emery Bay Club?
That's correct. So that's not, Emery Bay is
Not-
overparked, so to speak. So they have extra,
Overparked a lot, it sounds like.
right. And I
Okay.
think Charlie has a history behind
Well,
that.
I wasn't here when that was approved, but my understanding is that when Emery Bay Club and Apartments Phase 2 was built, that's the part that's closest to Shelmont Street, that TMG, who owned the property at the time, had some adjacent property, it might have even been this building, the Atrium building, that didn't have sufficient parking, and they needed to provide some extra parking on this other site that they owned. So there's extra parking built in to the Emery Bay Club and Apartments property, and it's specifically for something like this.
And then the other question is about a parking traffic management plan. Does this applicant have something like that in place? Do they contribute to the Emery Go Round as part of,
That is
interested
my
party.
understanding. I mean, that was a condition of approval in the prior approvals,
Right.
which they, which
So
were,
is-
which was enforced and
and
implemented?
then their fee
Well-
goes up when their square footage is
No,
increased?
I think the PBID, the Property-Based Improvement District, that now funds the Emery-Go-Round, replaced all those previous arrangements. Every non-residential property in Emeryville pays into the Emery-Go-Round through their tax assessment. And-
Including this one.
Isn't it?
No, Charlie's correct, but within a certain, it would depend if there's a stop there and within their, if they're in so many
Oh,
feet.
I thought it was all of them within.
So I don't know if they pay into that assessment or not.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Thanks, Maru. Is the applicant here this evening, and do they wish to speak?
I'm Robert Remiker. I'm the architect that's working on the project with Expression. And with me tonight is Kirk Engel, who is the CEO of Expression College. And I just want to make myself available if there are any other questions regarding the architecture, the planning of this. And if there's any questions regarding the operations of the project, they can be directed towards Kirk. And actually, there is one question, and it does regard some of the conditions of approval. And under utility service, it suggests that the applicant will be responsible for for reviewing the utilities to the site, and there's it may not be under utility service, but it may be under sanitary sewer. We know that the building is being served by a 6-inch line right now, branches off into 3 4-inch lines. It has great capacity. Our engineers know from the inside of the building that we are connecting to something that can handle the load. But I'm trying to get some clarification on what is expected of us in terms of really reviewing what is in the street or what the laterals are doing, and what is our responsibility.
That's a standard condition of approval. If your lateral and sewer service is fine, then there's nothing to be concerned about. If your sewer was substandard and not capable of serving your use for some reason, then
Okay.
Public Works would require you to upgrade it.
Okay.
That's all it means.
And you would know whether that's the case when you apply for your building permit. The plan check engineer would just have that information on top of his head.
Okay. Very good.
So, yeah.
So does this applicant pay into PPED? I mean, are they assessed for the Emery Go Round?
Kirk, could you address that one?
I have to confess, I'm not 100% sure. I do know that my facilities manager is on.
You need to come to the microphone, sir.
And please identify yourself. This is being televised. Thank
I'm
you.
Kirk Engel. I'm the executive director of the college. And I'm sorry, I don't have an official answer. I do know that our facilities manager is part of the Emery Go
On the
Round
board? Okay, well,
and
I
his
would-
predecessor was, so I'm
Okay.
assuming
I
that
would-
we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. But that's all I
I
That's
have.
good enough
understand
to
there's
me.
a stop right in front, so
Yes,
then
there
they
is.
would definitely be within the district.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
Okay, any other questions? If not, we'll open up the public hearing. Are there any citizens wishing to comment on this item? Bob?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Commissioner. Bob Cantor, President and CEO of the Emeryville Chamber of Commerce. Real quick, yes, Expression College, I'm on the board of directors of the TMA, the Transportation Management Authority, and Expression has always had a representative, so I assume they must be paying into the P-bid. So the answer is yes on that, I'm pretty sure. Wendy Silvani could verify that. Specifically, we're here in support of this application. As I think most of you know, first of all, Expression has proved since its opening to be a very responsible property owner. As Maru noted, there's been no complaints about any of their parking or their expansion, and they're a 24/7 operation, by the way, and very rapidly growing. If you go to the property, if you ever visit it, it's impeccably maintained. And if you haven't had a tour, by the way, Kirk would be happy to give you one. It's a fascinating facility. In addition, this business, as reflected by this application, is growing rapidly. It's a wonderful community contributor. They have a long track record here in town. They're a chairman circle member of the chamber, support us tremendously. The former CEO, Peter Lana, was our chairman of the board. Chris Cohn, who's their chief operating officer, he's not here this evening, is on our board now. They host every year the music festival for the school at their own expense, which raises a lot of money for the school program. They've done that now for at least the last 3 or 4 or even 5 years. Some of you have been to that program. It's a great evening. They sponsor a scholarship annually for an Emory student, Emory secondary school student at their own expense. They're a wonderful community contributor. And finally, as you may know, Expression College is internationally recognized. This is one of the few colleges of its kind in the nation, in North America, actually. I think there's one in Europe, I believe. It's owned by a Dutch investors mostly. This is an internationally recognized school, and the fact that it's growing is tribute to that. I mean, they just got recently, last year sometime, a certification to take international students. This is a tremendous asset for Emeryville. I don't believe there have been any complaints about the operation of the property, and we'd urge you to please approve this tonight. Thank you, and I'll remember to sign it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board's over there with
Thank you, Charlie.
Chair Jeffrey, I just
Yes.
want to clarify one point. The property owner is the one that pays the P-bid assessment, the Emery go-round assessment. In this case, Expression is a tenant of this building, and the owner is Rockwood Atrium LLC, so they would be the ones who would pay the P-bid assessment. Expression does own the other building, so they would be paying the P-bid assessment on that.
Thank you, Charlie. Any other citizens wishing to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission.
Well, I don't have any questions or comments. It's great that they're doing so well, and I'll move approval unless someone has other questions or comments.
I'll second.
Let's take the roll.
All right. Commissioner Cardoza,
Aye.
Commissioner Donaldson,
Aye.
Commissioner Flores,
Aye.
Vice Chair Martin,
Aye.
Chair Jeffrey.
Aye.
5 ayes, the application is approved. This decision is appealable to the City Council within 15 days.